This is an absolute japper through the gate of a wonderful player.
So, inshallah, welcome to Through the Gates. It's great to have you today. So, in this episode, we'll talk about health and fitness as you are a health professional, and more specifically, the things everyone can adopt to become healthier and live a better life. A lot about training routines, diets, and most importantly, meditation and mental fitness. Who better than you, a strength and conditioning coach and a yogi, to tell us about all this? So let's start then. First of all,
Thanks,
thank you, Vishalda, for being on Through the Gates.
thanks. Thanks, Siddharth,
Second,
for having me
let's
here.
first talk about how you entered this field of strength and conditioning and how did you go about it?
Well, so the journey started with me being a professional cricketer. So I played professional cricket in Mumbai since I started playing cricket from under 14 days, and then I switched over and started to play for corporate leagues as well, Time Shield, A Division tournaments. So basically, cricket was a part of my life. Sports, basically, if you take participating in different sports in school level as well. And then that transition happened. So I was at a stage in career where I wanted to decide on which path I should proceed here on, like at the age of 25, 26. So because I had a few certain goals regarding as a player, and if those are not met at that specific moment, I had to think about going into or rather exploring different fields in which I can go ahead and make a career out of. So that's how I was just thinking about it as to which all things I can do. And then this was the thing which I was doing since being a professional cricketer. This was the thing which I was doing since my childhood days, like fitness, yoga, and everything. So I decided that this is the thing I love, and this is the thing which relates to me. So let's understand more and more about it. Let's try to get more and more people, more and more athletes fitter and build them towards building their own professional lives. And that's how I just transitioned myself in this field.
Could you please put light on what is the exact process of getting into strength and conditioning?
So it can be different for different individuals because so if you take my journey, I had been a professional cricketer. So transitioning was more of taking in the experience of playing exactly the same game and then carrying it out as a strength and conditioning coach in that specific sport. There are other ways, as in if you're gaining into that academically, like say in India right now, strength and conditioning courses are starting to crop up from academic level, like colleges, graduate degrees are being offered. So this can be the pathway which any aspiring SNC can look forward to. If you have crossed the stage, if you're already a bachelor or if you're already a graduate, then you can be aiming for master courses in strength and conditioning, or else you can just start with basic CPT courses, recognized CPT courses which are internationally recognized. That is more better way to go about it. Then you can do specialized courses in strength and conditioning like CSCS, ASCA. So that's how you can plan out your career in strength and conditioning or other training.
Okay. So first topic I want to talk about is training and working out. How is the training regime of an athlete different from a general working population?
So as I said, being an athlete from that specific sport helps to be an SNC in that specific sport. So why athlete I said is because the movement patterns, the training strategies which are required are better known to that specifically strength and conditioning coach. And that same applies when you figure out as to where a strength and conditioning training is different and where a generalized personal training is different. So when you train an athlete, you train the movements. You train him to enhance his performance. When you train general public, Well, it is more about improving the general wellness over there. Definitely, the personal trainers who are training the general public as well, they know a few certain things about training the sportsmen, but their more work is restricted towards helping their clients, the general population, getting more and more fitter for day-to-day activities.
Mhm.
There is a strength and conditioning coach trains the athletes specifically for their movements, for their enhanced patterns. That's where the main training differs.
Okay, right. How important is training for an athlete, and what kind of an edge does an athlete who trains well has over someone who does not train well or doesn't train at all?
You're asking the advantages of athletes who train and who
Yep.
doesn't.
Over people who
Uh,
don't.
Yeah, so definitely the one who trains will be in a better position whenever the competition arises. Because it's like you can take an analogy of your exams as well in your academics. So when you are having that exam, specific exam, what you tend to do is you tend to by heart what the stuff is out there. Like you have the exam tomorrow and you are by hearting the stuff which you need to learn, and you get a very minimum time to understand more about it, to explore more about it. And so it's like you're just dumping everything into yourself and you're just dumping the same on the paper without like having just 10 to 20% of understanding. But when you're learning about that specific subject throughout the year, you tend to grasp more and more about that subject. Okay, and that's what helps you when you write down the exam. So like you are understanding 80% of it and you just need to memorize the 20% of it. Similarly, it's with the person who is an athlete who is training, an athlete who is not training. The athlete who is the athlete who is not training regularly, what he will have to do just before his matches, he will understand. Okay, these are things I need to work on. These are the things I need to get fit about. Like he's waking up at that particular moment, which will take away the most important time of his preparation. So that will like leave him with very much less time to improve his performance aspects, considering fitness perspective. As an athlete who is training regularly, he will understand the essence of it, like how his movement patterns are. He can train them better. He can understand them better, and that can be transferred directly over to the game. That will help him produce a better performance on the field, just because his understanding of his own body is better. That's how it transfers to our training, and having a good training program helps it.
So there's a lot of myths that go around in our society that lifting weights stunts growth, and what's your take on that?
Well, it's a myth, as you have said, because we have to understand the science behind it. First of all, it is just because we have been told these and these things. Okay, when you're small, you shouldn't do this type of training. It might affect your bone growth. You have to understand that basically training helps you to build a much more better, stronger base when you grow into adulthood. It's not about like you're going to stunt your growth by training. And I guess this has arisen due to the fact that the Olympic weightlifters, if you can see them, the champions or the legends who have lifted like their world record holding weights, they were much more shorter in stature. So I guess that myth came out from that thing. Okay, the people or the athletes who are short and they have been training since their childhood, they tend to be shorter. But you have to understand that it's not about like the people who are lifting weights from young age are shorter, but it's about when you're following a proper structured program, you stand to gain more out of it. That's the main thing. Like if you're training at right from a young age for your movement efficiencies, movement patterns, mobility, flexibility, with soft resistances. If your capacity is not of lifting good weights, heavy weights with like good posture, take your programming down by lifting like soft resistances, which include TheraTubes, like super bands and everything. Just get your movement efficiency better. That is going better. Definitely, you will be training under safe circumstances. and that's where a role of a proper like accredited or a proper SNC who has that knowledge of how to train a young athlete comes in. So definitely this is all a myth, which as you have said. So you need to understand that you need to have a good SNC, programming that athlete, and following up on that specific program.
Right. Is that the reason why in foreign countries we see that uh, the gym culture is exists in within teenagers as well, because so that when they are mostly in sportsmen, mostly athletes who college athletes I can call them, they do their strength training at since a younger age. Is that the reason, so that when they get older they have a better they have an edge over the other athletes?
So in these countries, they have this structure right from the school days. Just the way we have the PT periods, they have this specific sessions which target their movement efficiencies. They have these specific sessions wherein they are lifting weights. They have their gym set up in their schools as well, like in which they can lift the soft resistances, train themselves, train their movement efficiencies. So that's where the system is enhanced compared to India, and it's better and it's good that currently more and more awareness is being spread in India as well, so that more and more athletes are being caught up in their young age and they are being trained to enhance these specific qualities.
uh, why is it important to stay physically fit for anyone, not just athletes but general people as well?
Yeah, definitely. So staying fit is one of the most useful things you can do for yourself, right? Because be it sports, be it just your day-to-day activities, be it your corporate things, if you're fit, you can execute more and more things out there. So you have to make sure that you are staying fit at whatever means. If you're not staying fit, you're doing disservice to your own mind and body. That's a simple thing.
Okay. Coming to athletes now, is there a particular age or like a particular stage, maybe at what they're playing, when they need to start proper training?
As I said in the previous question, the early you begin, it's better. So when say a 4 to 5 year old kid, you can start with like swimming. So there are instances where we put them to enhance their movement patterns, like they're doing swimming. At any age, you are running anyway. You're throwing the ball anyway. You take any small kid, he's throwing. You take any small kid, he's running. If he's like enrolled in a swimming program, he's swimming. So the earlier you begin, the better movement efficiency you will have when you are in your growing up years, and carry that on in your adult life as well.
Right. Are there any tips or things that people can do in their daily lives, which in turn will make them fitter? Like simple steps that anyone can follow.
You have to train daily. Your body is programmed to move. Make sure you move daily. Eat well, sleep well. Those are the most important things which anyone can do on a regular basis to stay fit. Because it's a holistic approach. You have to keep your mind fit as well as your body fit. And this all form the ecosystem of it. So you have to make sure you are doing those activities regularly.
Right. Coming to sleep, how important is a good sleep cycle for anyone?
So sleep is the best form of recovery. First, you have to understand that. A good sleep makes you alert. A good sleep improves your memory. Good sleep improves your reaction times. And like those are the most important factors which define a better athlete. So definitely, if you're like more precise about your sleep routine, you can gain more out of your training, more out of your any practice sessions which you're doing. So that's the number one priority for any athlete who is like wanting to take his game a level up.
Is there a certain amount of time that one should sleep for? Maybe like we often hear that 7 hours is something you should always look to sleep for.
So scientific research is saying currently that good sleep is anything between the ranges of 7 to 8 hours. Here again, an athlete has to figure it out for him or himself or herself, because it's like there are a few days when you are feeling like you are completely exhausted. So you might want to take in that 1 extra hour more. Or there are some days wherein you are feeling like, okay, I'm ready to go. And then that time, just lying on the bed is like you're just lazing around. So you have to figure it out for them yourself. So one basic technique which everyone can follow is like wake up as soon as you open your eyes for the first time when you're out of the bed, when you're feeling fresh. Because your body gives you signals. Okay, the sleep quota for me for this day is done. You're ready to go. So if your sleep is correct, that can help you a long way going ahead.
Okay. Now let's come to eating habits and diets. How important is eating good and nutritious food for anyone?
Very important. So as I said, these three form the most important part: training, eating, and sleeping. So this is one of the pillars of that particular thing. Because you have to understand that whatever energy you get is from the food you eat. And that's why following a right nutrition pattern or right nutrition strategies is very important to go ahead with. Because as I said, sleep is the best form of recovery. What is going to recover your body? Like what exactly is going to happen when you sleep is what you fuel your body with when you're eating it. So what you eat fuels your body, and the process keeps on continuing in your body when you're sleeping. So it's like combination which gels together and completes your recovery, completes your high performance, or anything that you take. So it's like of paramount importance that you eat well, sleep well, and follow the right nutrition strategies.
Okay. And how important is like having a proper ratio of the all the components of food, all the nutritions, important for anyone?
Definitely very important. Uh, so if you ask about ratios, it might include your carbohydrates, your macronutrients, basically in your food, the carbs, the amount of carbs you should eat, the amount of proteins you should eat, the amount of fat you should have throughout your day, because all these macronutrients contribute towards like building your engine, building your body into a better you, into a better athlete. So that differs according to the sport you are playing, the amount of carbohydrate required, the amount of protein required. But you have to make sure that you are fulfilling that specific amount on a day-to-day basis, on a consistent basis, because that's how you're going to evolve your body into a better state.
Okay. How can a good diet change the performance of an athlete?
So as I said, good diet helps you recover better. It helps you fuel your body better. And the most important thing it does is that just consider this one thing. You're training hard, you're practicing hard. Your body is breaking down its muscles. You're breaking down everything to carry out that specific session when you're working out. And when the session finishes, you need to fuel in yourself to make that recovery better. So if you just go on and eat any junk food, it won't help you that much in your next sessions, because what is happening when you're breaking down your muscles post a session, your body whatever you eat at that moment, the body absorbs in a much better way. So if you're fueling your body in a right particular manner at that specific time, like right proteins, good carbohydrates, good fats, whatever is needed at that specific time, if you're fueling it in the right way, that will maximize your performance in the upcoming sessions. And that will transfer to your sport as well. If you cannot expect eating chips, anything, post your workout session and say that, okay, my next session is also going to be better because I have had post-workout chips. It's not going to work that way. If you fuel in yourself with right food, means it's like you cannot expect an aeroplane to run on a fuel which is provided to a car. It needs that specific quality of fuel. So as an athlete, you need to put that specific quality of fuel in your body if you need to take off. As simple as that.
Again, a myth that protein supplements are not good for anyone, and when should someone look on to having protein supplements?
So supplements, as the name suggests, is a supplement to your main food. Yes, you have to make this. And not always that supplements are bad, because they are supplementing something which is lacking in your normal food, or which you are not getting in the adequate quantity in your natural food. So it is not that supplements are always bad. As I said, if it is the right supplement, if it is taken at right time, in right amount, it's definitely going to help you up your game. So it's not that protein supplements are bad, because your body, or it needs that protein specifically to build that muscle, to repair itself. So you might have heard that it's from your 4th standard school textbook, that proteins are the building blocks of your body. So if you consider a non-vegetarian or vegetarian, from where is the vegetarian person going to get that specific amount of protein requirement throughout the day? He might need to rely on supplements in that case. That's the, if he's not fulfilling that specific required adequate amount for his daily needs, he might require to fall on supplements. So it's like very much important.
Right. And again, a myth, as you said, many people believe that you can't build proper muscle or a good physique if you're not if you don't eat non-veg. And what's your take on that?
This is specifically a topic which is always under debate, non-veg or veg. But if you understand the science behind it, you have to understand that your body builds itself when it gets the right quality of protein. The quality is the most important factor over here. So if you consider vegetable protein, first understand what makes protein. So there are like essential amino acids, and then there are non-essential amino acids, which complete the profile of a protein. And what builds the muscles is a complete combination, right? And when you and the non-essential amino acids are something which your body makes from within, and essential amino acids are something which the body needs to take from outside sources. Okay, so once that is clear, then you have to understand that non-veg protein is usually a complete protein which has its complete profile. Okay, so it has the non-essential as well as the essential part in a full adequate amount. Whereas in vegetable protein or other vegetarian proteins, foodstuffs which you eat, that profile might not be complete in certain foodstuffs. Say for example, rice might be plus in something and it might miss out in something. Dal, it might have certain essential amino acids and miss out on certain essential amino acids. So what happens when you have to fuse that together? Like what happens if you can say, if you are a non-vegetarian, you consume one breast chicken piece and you are getting that complete share of your day-to-day protein. But in the case of a vegetarian, you might need to mix in a different foodstuff like rice and dal, so that completes that complete protein profile. You might need to fall on whey protein supplementation. So and basically this myth comes from thing that certain vitamins are lacking in vegetable food, like say vitamin B12. So a vegetarian athlete can definitely gain them through the use of supplementation whenever needed. Like there are a number of different things which science says lacks in non-vegetarian stuff, which can be completed in the vegetarian profile by using those specific supplements at that moment.
What does yoga tell us about eating? Like what kind of foods should we have to lead a better life?
So as I said, anything natural food is much more better. Raw food like your fruits, boiled food. If you are eating like the most important thing is to understand that whatever you consume, when it is in the simplest form, it is much more easy to digest as well as easy to absorb. The body absorbs it that the body absorbs it in a much more enhanced way, efficient way. And then there is this roasted thing, so raw food, boiled food, roasted food. Definitely that go in a much more. Even if you are eating non-veg, they tell you have boiled chicken, have boiled eggs. So eating this specific kind of food helps them easy to digest as well as easy to absorb. That's how you can gain more nutrition out of the food you eat.
Sorry. What would be your what would be an ideal diet plan, or the kind of food anyone can have? I'm talking about the general people, something that they can follow.
So as I mentioned, this question, the previous question only. Again, boiled food, roasted food, raw food, definitely go in a long way. Plus, they should also consider the timing in which they eat the food, because that is going to help them. Because what happens usually with general public, because in athletes there is some certain discipline that because they need to compete at higher level. So a motivated athlete will be much more precise about his eating strategies. But in general population, what happens? You tend to binge. Binge eating happens. Like whenever you are like you're feeling bored, you eat. You want to satisfy your taste buds, you eat. You have to understand that you eat to fill your stomach, not your tongue. If you can keep this first thing in your mind, rest assured that you can be fitter. That you can at least be fit by your food choices. And then the rest comes from your proper movement of your body. So this is the mantra which you can follow, that eat when you're hungry, don't eat to satisfy your taste buds.
Right. Okay, now let's come to athlete mantras. A page on Instagram that through which you share with athletes yogic perspectives through which they can get better at their game. Tell me more about it. What's your vision with athlete mantras?
Sure. So the main vision with athlete mantras is that to empower more and more athletes from different sports to level up their game using the concepts of yoga. Because a science, yogic science, which has been around for more than 5,000 years, is credible. And this is something Indian. So if our own athletes gain maximum out of it, what better? What better than that? That's the main reason of putting out that content specifically on Athlete Mantras page. That more and more athletes should understand yoga in its entirety, to the basics. Because what happens whenever I ask any athlete or anyone in general, what is yoga for you? They just say it's asanas, pranayama, or more they can say it's about meditation. And that's where the main misunderstanding about yoga is, or misconception about yoga is. Because yoga is a complete system of 8 parts, out of which meditation, asanas, and pranayama are just 3 parts. And there are 5 more parts left about it, which if practiced in the right way can help any athlete empower his performance.
Okay. What are the main learnings out of yoga that you have had?
So first of all, yoga is a path of discipline. It's simple. Whatever you do, it can be yoga if it's being done at the level of excellence, to your own capacity. Keep it to your own capacity. Means you don't need to compare to Virat Kohli or Sachin Tendulkar in that matter. To your capacity, try to do that specific thing to your excellent ability, and that is yoga. So that is one discipline which yoga teaches, that whatever you do it with full focus and your full presence of mind over there. And the second thing is makes you more aware about your own self. You start to understand yourself way better, because definitely you can produce better performance when you're more aware about yourself. If you're understanding more about yourself as to how your body is moving that particular day, what the weather conditions are that particular day. So you tend to observe, you tend to develop observational skills. That's why yoga plays a much more important role.
And how can yoga change someone's life? And how has it changed yours since you've become, since you've been into yoga?
So as I said, carrying from my previous question, yoga helps you become more and more aware about your own self, and that increases your confidence. So what do you need? You need confidence to go out there, right? Whenever once you start to understand that the things which you are feeling are the things which are generic. Doubts arise or fear arise when you're playing, rather, that you feel that you are inferior and the other competitor might be superior, and you start to doubt your own self-worth. You think that particular bowler is much more better than me. You think that particular batsman is much more better than me. How can I get his wicket? When you start to become aware of yourself, you start to understand that fine, this is the thing which I can do to my better ability. You start to observe the other batsman. You start to observe the other bowler. You start to figure out, okay, as per my ability, I can do this thing particularly in a better way to counter that. And that can arise only when you're aware about yourself. And the yogic tools, yogic processes are all about enhancing your awareness. You develop your awareness, you meditate on it, you act on it, and you become better at it. It's a day-by-day process. You might not get the results like in next week, but follow it for 3 to 4 weeks, you'll start to see the changes in your own self. And that's what has been my own experience. I started to trust myself better. I started to be more confident. I started to become more and more aware about myself after following the yogic practices. And that's what, like, it helps you in expressing better whatever you have within you, talents within you.
So all in all, yoga can change someone if done properly, mentally and physically.
Yeah, when you practice it with the right intent, the right understanding, and right
Can someone
attitude.
do it on their own, or is it necessary for someone to guide them maybe?
Definitely, when you have someone guiding you, it's way too better. Because when you're doing when you're doing something like yoga on your own self, what happens? You might have certain experiences, and you start to take them as true. Like say, it can be anything about meditation, wherein there is a like misconception that meditation is having no thought. The best misconception anyone can have about meditation is about having no thought. So if you have someone to guide you in that particular thing, it is about meditation is about having that one particular thought and then carrying it throughout, understanding it to its entirety, and then inculcating that particular thought in your actions. So it is possible only when there is someone to guide you how you can go about it. By asanas. So people think that asanas is all about like developing your health or developing a certain physical quality. But someone who is experienced in that particular field might guide you, saying that it's more about your mind and body connect. When you're holding those difficult asana poses, you develop that patience to remain calm even when you're facing a difficult situation in life. Just consider yourself twisting your body in an like uncomfortable way and still breathing in that particular situation, in that particular asana. Won't that transfer directly to your life, like life situations when say you are batting or bowling in a pressure situation? It's an uncomfortable situation, but your mind will understand that it has been in an uncomfortable situation during practice sessions, like you're doing asanas. It was an uncomfortable situation, yet I was breathing normally in that particular situation.
Right.
So the mind understands, okay, whenever I'm in an uncomfortable situation, I need to breathe. I need to become aware. And you might have heard that even you might have tried it, like situation practice specifically, like game simulations. What do? You create situations like 5 overs, 40 runs needed. Hit. So you're putting yourself under pressure, right? That's what even asana does. You're putting yourself in uncomfortable position and then trying it out. And just understand, now I told you this thing from my own experience. So won't it help to have someone experienced guiding you for yoga as well?
Hmm.
You can gain more out of it, right?
Yeah.
That's how it works. You can practice on your own, but if you want to enhance and accelerate your progress, train yourself under an expert guidance.
So top 3 lessons that you would give to anyone that you've learned on this journey of yoga.
Be disciplined, work towards excellence, finish what you start is the most important thing. That's the most important thing which anyone can inculcate. Because what happens, we start in excitement and then the excitement wavers off and you drop that project over there. So discipline, excellence, and finish what you start are the most important things.
Okay, moving on to meditation. What is meditation according to what you've learned and seen so far?
So if you consider meditation in entirety, it is not something which can be taught to you. Meditation, it is something which can be experienced. You experience that particular thought, you experience that particular situation in a certain way, you reflect on it in your meditation, you decide the course of action. Okay, I have analyzed this thing, I had got this experience, now I can go ahead with this particular course of action. Will it help me get better? Let me try it out, or let me learn from experience of someone else, expert guidance who has been, or rather a mentor who has been there and done that. Try out that particular thing, again analyze on it in your meditation. So what does meditation do is it helps you in reflecting better, choosing the right course of action better, and most importantly, it helps to reprogram your mind better. Because your performance is sum total of your habits which you install. And meditation helps you in inculcating and incorporating right habit patterns into yourself in a much more better way. You analyze, you choose, and you form the habit. And that is accelerated with the process of meditation.
Okay. A lot of people say that their life changed after they started practicing meditation regularly. And why is that meditation has such a great magnitude of effect that it changes people's life from year to year? Like, what do you think? Why is that?
Well, it's transformational. As simple. Let's keep it simple. People gain experiences. They analyze it. They're in much more better situation to take better decisions. Because what happens, you tend to be in an indecisive state when there is a lack of clarity. And meditation helps you develop that clarity or the path to head into. So if you are practicing meditation, you will experience that one thing, that you will gain that particular insight as to, rather intuition when you say that, okay, this might be the right path to go ahead. Well, it might not work right away, but at least you will understand, okay, this might be the right path to go ahead with. Let me try it out. So people start to become more and more aware of themselves. They understand the path to take. They become more and more expressive towards their own ideas. Because if there are ideas within you, and if you're not expressing them through actions, then those are just going to remain as imagination in your mind. So meditation makes you help express those ideas in a much more better way. And that's what I guess has been much more transformational for more and more people out there, bringing their hidden talents out.
So what I've experienced, I think that if someone asks me this question, okay, how does meditation change you? I think no one can explain what exactly happens. It is only after you yourself try it and practice it that you'll see and observe that what kind of changes it has. Like
So that's the thing I started with. That you cannot be taught to how to do meditation. You can only be instructed. Okay, this is the way. Go ahead. You can only be guided. Okay, this is the way you have to go. But whatever experiences you have to make sure of it that you are aware. Like you cannot buy out my experiences and say that okay, these are the experiences. You cannot buy out a book of meditation and say these are the experiences of meditation. Your experiences are your own experiences, and that's what meditation teaches us all about.
Okay. How can someone start meditating at a basic level? You know, you are an instructor. You know, you've seen a lot of people. You have helped rather a lot of people to start meditating. What would be something that you would give some tips that you'd give to a beginner who wants to just start meditation?
So just a basic tip is that to start with, it's always better to have a symbol or something which you can hold to, right? So it's as simple as that. When you are learning to walk, you take the support of that specific thing when you hold to it and you start to walk. Similarly, when you're starting to meditate, take hold of a support. The best support you can have is your own breath. Just close your eyes, sit straight, and watch your breath. Simple. Keep it simple. Because when you start to complicate it, you start to doubt it. अरे ये तो होने वाला है कि नहीं मेरे से. If you keep simple, it just will follow like a process. It's like very easy thing that happens naturally with it. Take the support of your breath, close your eyes, sit straight, and just watch your breath. Watch it for 5 breaths and just open your eyes. Because there are initially doubts that अरे मैं तो 5-10 मिनट के लिए बैठ ही नहीं सकता. Don't sit for 5-10 minutes to start with. Just sit for 5 breaths. That's the most simplest thing you can do. Then do it in the next hour. Again next hour. So 1 बजे किया, वापस 2 बजे करो. 2 बजे किया, वापस 3 बजे करो. At least you can spare 5 breaths. Become self-aware. Start with that. Then you will see gradually it's improving because you are feeling better about it. And won't you do something that feels better? अगर सामने 10 गुलाब जामुन रखे तो अच्छा लगता है इसलिए खाते जाओगे. But if there is something that is really looking good to you or feeling good to you, won't you do it again and again? That's how you can start with it.
And even put on some earphones and play any like meditation. There are a lot of guided meditation that you can catch on YouTube. So there should really be no excuse to not start meditating. Once you start, it's a great thing.
Certainly. So when we were talking about the SNC aspect, when we said that your training, your food, your sleep are of paramount importance, you should add meditation to it. Yoga Nidra in specific yogic terms, when you say guided meditation. So it is basically called Yoga Nidra in yogic term. So there's absolutely no excuse. Means if you are targeting elite performance in whichever field you are, not necessarily as an athlete, as a human being, you are looking to excel, right? Ask any corporate person as well. What's your goal? I need to excel. He might say he wants to become a so-and-so, but at the essence of it is to excel, right?
Yeah.
So if high performance is your goal, then you need to be more aware of yourself. As simple as that. And what better tool than meditation or Yoga Nidra?
In the end, what would be your 3 top tips to everyone to stay healthy and be away from any health issues and live a happy life?
So understand yourself as a complete being, not as a body or a mind. It's a complete being. To keep your body fit, keep moving daily. Make sure you're sparing time at least 30 to 45 minutes at least for general population if I'm saying. Make sure you are moving on a day-to-day basis. As an athlete, make sure you're following a particular regimen for training. Second, as I said, for your mind, as it's a body-mind complex, if your body is moving, your mind needs to be stable. For that, meditate, do Yoga Nidra, follow them with discipline and focus, because whatever you focus on grows. So if you want to enhance your own performance, make sure you're sticking to it. And finally, keep working. Don't worry about results. Keep working. There is one verse from Bible which is like really transformational for me since my young days, that you are the light of the world. A city built on hill can never stay hidden. So if you make your own city at that peak, if you take your performance to that peak, there's no way people are going to ignore you or not take notice of you. So that those are the simple things which you can keep in mind.
Thanks, Vishalda, for coming, being on Through the Gates. Hope you had fun, and thank you for the lovely information that you gave us. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. It was fun.